Who's ready for a fourth instalment of Wishful Thinking? I know I am. Hello everyone, welcome back to my latest series, What If I Were in Charge of the Marvel Movie Collection, as I take you through what every issue of this already good collection could have been if I were calling the shots, and that would hopefully turn it into a great collection. I've really been enjoying this project so far. I've been doing these edits and these videos and stuff. I hope you're enjoying it as much as I am, and we've got another 20 issues now which I think are really, really strong, so let's jump straight in. So our issue 61 is the Mandarin from Iron Man 3, or before anyone says anything, it's also Trevor Slattery from Iron Man 3. Eaglemoss did this one just like this, brilliant likeness to Ben Kingsley, but they did it way too early in my opinion. They did it around 18. I've moved it all the way to 61, so it no longer feels out of place. It feels like quite a nice callback to a Phase 2 film rather than being way too early. And at issue 62 I have Nebula from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Now this is the first Nebula in my collection. I've been using, we had everyone waiting for Rocket, everyone waiting for Gamora, now everyone has been waiting for Nebula. So it keeps people subscribed, it keeps people interested, and also means they've got something to look forward to constantly. I've kept this one the same as the Eaglemoss one for Volume 2 with the exception of the head. I've actually used the head from the Endgame Nebula that Eaglemoss did. I've kind of touched up the colouring a little bit because I actually think that's a much stronger likeness to Karen Gillan. I think the face and the way the eyes were painted were the only way that this one was kind of let down in the past. So I've improved the head, but otherwise Nebula comes in at issue 62. And at issue 63, it's time for a new film. It's time for Spider-Man Homecoming, which is a big deal because Eaglemoss never had permission to do anything from any of the solo Spider-Man films because they were owned by Sony and not Disney. So in my collection, I'm not restricted by that at all. So I'm going to be including all of the Spider-Man films. And this is Shocker from Spider-Man Homecoming. The reason I've gone with Shocker first is we've already had Spider-Man from Civil War. Vulture is obviously very big, so he'll be coming up as a special later on in this video. So actually it felt right that the secondary villain of the film, Shocker, would be now. So this is Shocker at issue 63, and this is actually a real figurine that you can buy. This is a custom figurine by Luis Cantos and his custom Marvel movie collection. I'll put the link in the description because there's a few of his coming up later in the video as well. And at issue 64, I've got Gladiator Thor from Thor Ragnarok. So again, a new film. We're now introducing Ragnarok kind of at the same time as Homecoming to keep all these new figures flowing through the collection. I've kept Gladiator Thor the same with the exception of the weapon. I've put it in his hand. It was originally on the ground. I don't know why. It was a really odd decision to make. Obviously, the figurine looks a lot cooler if he's holding it. So Gladiator Thor at 64, holding his weapon and not just leaving it by his foot. And we've reached a multiple of 8, so of course it's time for another special, and what better special to put with Gladiator Thor than Gladiator Hulk? Imagine going into your newsagent or opening that subscriber box and seeing the two of these together for the first time with all of their weapons. Brilliant. Like, that would be a brilliant thing to do in the collection. Gladiator Hulk in particular was plagued with tons of breakages, like it was probably the most broken figure in transit. If it were down to me, what I would probably do is make the hammers and the hammer and the axe separate, and they can just be slotted into the hands. So a little bit of self-assembly, but it would mean that they didn't snap in half, and I think that's probably better. So that's what I would do, but the figure itself would look the same. Gladiator Hulk coming in as the 8th special. And at issue 65, we journey back to Civil War one last time to add an additional character. Now, this is not a character that Eaglemoss did at all, and although Zemo is not the most exciting looking character, he actually had a real influence on all of the events in Civil War in a brilliant way, and Daniel Brawl is a fantastic actor, and of course he came back for Falcon and the Winter Soldier, so it makes sense to have him in the collection. I've used his likeness from the Marvel Legends figure, and I've given him Bucky's diary so that he has at least an accessory or something to make him stand out. And at 66 we have Ego from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. This is a great figurine with a great likeness. All I've done is move him a little bit later because I was able to use Rocket and Gamora and things when this film was first covered in my version. But otherwise, Ego at 66. And at 67 we have Spider-Man in his homemade suit from Spider-Man Homecoming. So this is a repeat, but this is one that I really wanted to do. So we've started Spider-Man's first solo film in the MCU. It was the perfect opportunity to introduce his original suit before he gets all the tech upgrades and things from Tony Stark. And I've always liked this suit. I think there's a real charm about it. I think it's really realistic. And he never wears this in an Avengers film or a Captain America film, so Eagle Moss could never go anywhere near it. But in my version, I would definitely include it. And you guessed it, this is actually a real figurine that you can buy. It's a custom by Luis Cantos in his custom Marvel movie collection. Again, the link is in the description. It is awesome. And at 68, we have Hela from Thor Ragnarok. Now, this is probably my second favourite figurine of the entire original collection. I think it was absolutely superb. It's huge, the likeness is brilliant, it looks like nothing else that would be on your shelf. It is brilliant. So I've made no changes to it whatsoever. In fact, all I've done is move it earlier by one issue, and that's just because of how other characters fell. Otherwise, Hela is something that Eagle Moss did really well, and I wouldn't change a thing. And at 69, just a couple of issues later than in the original collection, we have Mantis from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. It's an odd one because people really hated this one, like it was really bad. And I think it all came down to the paint. I think the sculpt itself and the likeness itself is absolutely fine. It's actually quite good, and it was just really badly painted. So what I've actually done in this image is I have touched up the likeness just around the face and the hair where the two meet to kind of improve the paint, even on this prototype, and I think it looks absolutely fine. So maybe in my version the quality control might be a little bit higher to ensure that people enjoy the figurine. And at 70, this is an interesting one. So we've just had Mantis, who's obviously an Avenger, is a very prominent character. So I felt like the next issue could be going back and revisiting Phase 1 and doing another side character. And I've picked Justin Hammer because I think it's just awesome. I think Sam Rockwell was awesome in the film as Justin Hammer, and I think at the time people weren't that fussed. I don't think Iron Man 2 was that popular, but now he's almost like his own walking meme. His like people just think very fondly of him, and I think they want him to reappear in the MCU again, and maybe he will. But I've put him in at number 70 so we can harken back to Phase 1 just briefly to do an extra Iron Man figure. And at issue 71, it's another from Thor Ragnarok. Now this is Heimdall. Now this is the final figurine from the original lineup that I've kind of deliberately been waiting to do. So Heimdall from the original Thor film, I think it's actually from Thor the Dark World, came at issue 27. And that was fine. It felt like a normal time to get him, and the figurine was fine, and the likeness was fine, and it was okay. But I actually thought he looks awesome in Thor Ragnarok, and also he is just obscure enough that people wouldn't get angry that I wait until 71 issues to do him, but still popular enough that people would want to get him. So I'm actually really pleased with the magazine edit and the figurine edit. I think this is one of the nicest, seamless ones I've done. I've literally just used the Marvel Legends figurine for this. And at issue 72, it's time to introduce another new film, because the MCU just keeps pumping out new films. It's almost like this collection could last forever. But obviously it has now ended. But that's something to take up with Eagle Moss, not me. Issue 72, it's Killmonger from Black Panther. I have changed nothing here, not even the numbering. It's a really cool figurine. It was the right time to introduce him. Here he is. And a multiple of 8, you guessed it, so we're now into another special, and this time, as I teased earlier on, special number 9 is Vulture from Spider-Man Homecoming, and again, now this one is breathtaking. This is a custom figurine from Luis Cantos. It is absolutely huge. It does cost an arm and a leg, but I know a lot of people have bought this one and think it's the absolute crown jewel of their collection. So it's got the full wingspan, it comes in an absolutely huge box. Yeah, it is absolutely brilliant, and if Eagle Moss were allowed to do Spider-Man films, I would have loved to have seen how they tackled such a large, interesting character as well, but obviously they never could. In my version, it's the 9th special. It feels about right. We've done some Spider-Man stuff, and it's a Phase 3 character and things, and it will look great with Spider-Man and Shocker as well, plus some more that I've got coming up. And at issue 73, it's another new film, so it's Avengers Infinity War. Honestly, I was looking back at the collection and how quickly they start covering these new films once they're allowed to do them it's mind-blowing. But I felt that it was better to start off with Teen Groot, as it's the first time that Groot would appear in the collection as a regular-sized figurine. And at 74, we have Valkyrie from Thor Ragnarok. In the original collection, she was at 75. The magazine looked like that, but the figurine did not. Eagle Moss made an absolutely terrible decision. They decided, despite the fact we're going to put the scrapper version, the normal version, on the magazine, we're going to do her in her fight gear from the final battle, and then they did this awful likeness and this weird pose with the weapons pointing out forward, so they all snapped off, and she's standing there so awkwardly, and it just made absolutely no sense. So here's what should have happened. Issue 74, Valkyrie in her scrapper outfit. This is the Thor Ragnarok version, and then later down the line I'll do her battle gear from Endgame. So then you've got her from 2 different films rather than having her from the same film twice. And at 75, it's another awesome character from Spider-Man Homecoming, and you guessed it, because it can't exist otherwise, this is a custom figurine from Luis. Now, he hasn't actually officially released this one just yet, but this image has been around for quite some time. I think Ned is a hilarious character. I loved him in No Way Home. Obviously, no spoilers in this video, even though I think the whole world and their dog have now seen it twice. At 76 is Okoye from Black Panther. Nothing's really changed here. The only thing that I've done is Eaglemoss did Killmonger in the suit and then immediately did Killmonger without the suit. So they released the same character twice from the same film before anyone else, and it felt really weird. So I'm not going to do that. So I am focusing on the other awesome characters from Black Panther first. So Okoye comes in at 76. And at 77 is Corvus Glaive. I was never not going to do him because the Black Order are awesome. Well, probably more in terms of look than they are function in the film, but yeah, this is an awesome looking figurine. I have not changed it in the slightest. I've just made it come in a little bit later. So 77 people start their Black Order, but I am going to really spread them out because that's another thing. Now that Heimdall and Nebula and Gamora and stuff are all in the collection, I can use these guys to now keep people collecting. So 78 is the Wasp from Ant-Man and the Wasp. Again, another new film, another new Phase 3 film entering the collection. I have made a ton of changes here because I think Eaglemoss just didn't do the Wasp right at all. So the first thing I've done is add the Ant-Man logo onto the base because the Ant-Man ones have blank bases, which is a weird inconsistency. So I'm correcting that and putting that PIM logo on the base. So that looks better. I've also added the wings. Eaglemoss didn't put the wings on at all, and they claimed it's because when she is full size she doesn't use her wings, but that sounds to me like a very convenient excuse to make up just to stop people asking about it. So there's no reason not to put her in the wings. I know the Marvel Legends figurine had her in the wings, so you know it's not like that's even Marvel's decision. So I've added the wings on, nice and easy, and I've also removed the helmet and put Evangeline Lilly's head there. I think some people probably would prefer the helmet, so you know maybe people will disagree with me there, but I think if you've got permission to use the head, why wouldn't you? And I've used the one from the Marvel Legends figurine, and I think this makes a much stronger addition to the collection, and I think it would be among people's favourites. And at 79, I am going right back to a Phase 2 film, Captain America the Winter Soldier, a film we haven't done much from yet, so it's good to revisit it. And we've just done Wasp, who's like a titular character, so it makes sense to kind of visit a side character now to keep up the variety. So I've gone for Alexander Pierce from Captain America the Winter Soldier. It's not a hugely exciting figurine, but the suit is nice, the gun is nice, and I mean Robert Redford, what an absolute legend. So I think lots of people would really appreciate having him in their collection, probably over a second Agent Coulson or Agent Keller from Captain Marvel. Rounding off the regular figurines for this video, it's issue 80, which is Shuri from Black Panther. No changes here, I've just moved her earlier on. There was no point doing 2 Killmongers and 2 Black Panthers before some of these other new characters, so it's more important to do Shuri right now. Yeah, brilliant figurine, and I haven't changed it at all. And that's a multiple of 8, so we're just finishing off with squeezing in another special, and I've put Korg from Thor Ragnarok as special number 10. He was special number 10 in the original collection, so I have changed absolutely nothing here. It's an awesome figurine, and it looks so much like Korg that I've seen a lot of people that do Photoshop posters and stuff actually use this figurine as their image of Korg because they think it looks so lifelike, and they often get away with it. So yeah, no changes here, but Korg comes in at number 10. Brilliant, hilarious character. And there you have it, that's me done for another video. Let's just have a quick look at how the collection looks so far. So Phase 1 has not changed an awful amount. We've just got Justin Hammer has been added into the Iron Man 2 lineup. I'm really pleased with how this whole phase looks. I think I've included just enough additional people from other films to kind of give it more variety than Eaglemoss did, and I haven't put as many repeats in as they would have done. And yeah, I think this is probably, I'll probably revisit Phase 1 maybe a couple more times, but this is kind of like the core characters that you would want. And Phase 2, not a huge number of changes either, just mainly the Mandarin and Alexander Pierce have been added, just to kind of flesh out those mini collections from those films to include a villain. And then this is where the most changes have taken place. So we've got a new character for Civil War, we've got new characters for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and then we've got completely new lineups for Homecoming, Ragnarok and Black Panther. Already this looks really, really, really cool, and especially seeing like a Spider-Man lineup of figurines when they never existed in the past. That's just really surreal to see. And as I say, all 4 of those there are by Luis Cantos. The link is in the description. You can buy them if you've got the money. And then it's time to start a new screen. Not much on here yet. We've got one from Ant-Man and the Wasp and a couple from Infinity War. In the next video, I'll be populating this a lot more, plus revisiting a few earlier ones as well. Some really exciting figurines line up as I take you up to issue 100. And then we've got a few more as well, because I'm going to go to the very end. I'm going to do the whole 140 and show just how awesome they could have looked. And that's it for me. Thanks for watching, everyone. You can get all the latest Marvel Movie Collection news by following me on Instagram, Facebook, subscribing right here on YouTube, and joining the discussion in the Facebook group too. It's looking like there isn't anything more to come from the official collection, but I've got some really exciting announcements coming up on my page very, very soon, and I can't wait to see what people think. They might not be for everyone, but I think people are going to be quite excited, so we'll see what happens. Keep on collecting.